Oh, we're live. Ha! Ha, ha, ha. I'm sitting over here shit posting in the pit trying to get guys in. And I look up and we're live. Music's still coming in hot. Let's take it down a little. And welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Hxro Labs Live. Welcome back to Stoned, where we smoke marijuana and look at charts. Just kidding. I have been enjoying. I have been a marijuana enjoyer, though, more and more lately. It's been a nice, like, just like take a little edge off. So, funny story about that before we get into it, because DOGE, we got Solana. Look at it. Solana's a little bit of strength here. Anyways, I stopped smoking weed for the longest time because I was like, oh man, it gets me too high. I get so paranoid. And then so I was talking to somebody. They're like, have you tried smoking less? I was like, what are you talking about? You smoke a joint. They're like, no. Have you tried like 2 puffs? Take the edge off. Don't really get that stone. Certainly not paranoid. Anyways, I tried it and I was like, it worked. They're like, yeah, you've just been overdosing yourself for years. So that was funny. Anyways, it's been good. It's been good. We're going to get after it today. The question on the headline today is alt season upon us. I'd say there's a lot of alts doing really well right now. I could say that much. The trend is up for a lot of things, but there are some fakers out there, right? There's some downtrending coins that are just making a sharp move up. Very sketchy. Very sketchy for me. Like, I'm not buying and holding those coins. I'll give you an example. Now, I love AVAX. Y'all know I love AVAX. Let's switch over to the charts. But I'm going to pick on them today because they're the name that comes to mind when I think of the thing I just said. It does not mean this could not have, this could be the bottom. Who knows? We did kind of get a low and a cheeky little higher low. So maybe there's a weekly reversal there. But, and we talked about this a little bit last week, there's still just kind of lower lows on the weekly. A healthy bottom. I think we could look at something like Link. Link stopped making lower lows. I mean, it made a final one here, which is not such a big deal if it recovers and then does well. Sometimes that's like that signals the end of the move, right? It broke down and there was really no sellers left. Point is, it's been in this beautiful little bottoming trough. And so that breakout, much more trustworthy. Do you guys see the difference? This is important, especially because the alpha online now, a lot of people on crypto Twitter and that, they're saying like, oh, grab your conviction bags and just hold on forever now because the bull's back and you just got to get a piece. If that's the way you're approaching this, just make sure that there is a pretty solid bottoming formation on the weekly before you pick which bags you're going to just roll into the next 2 years with. I'm not saying AVAX, I feel bad saying anything bad about AVAX. I love AVAX. AVAX was so good to us back in 2017. Wonderland and Joe and all that. I actually have a bag of Joe right now. Let's look at Joe. And we are going to get into the requests that Alex Gallagher made in the chat. So what's up, Alex? Appreciate it. Talking about trading bots, AI trading bots. I've never used the AI trading bots. I've used trading like Unibot X I used once. We'll talk a bit about that. And then he wants to check out the ARB chart, which sounds fantastic. Caitlin Cook in the chat, Grand Rising. Hello, hello. And Haha or Hawa and Enigma. Welcome back, guys. I don't know about y'all, but I feel good. I'm fired up. I feel like for months I've been talking about getting back on the horse and like, oh, I got to figure out my trading plan and like blah, 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 blah. And like for the first time in a long time, I just put all of that kind of like gotta, and I just went and did it. So after the stream on Thursday, which was my final kind of realization moment, I went and circled back to everything. And here's the thing, like when you look at Bitcoin right now, you might look at it and say something or feel something like, oh man, like this is a risky spot. Like if I get long here, my invalidation, unless it's just like really absurdly wide, like an investment type invalidation, then like I really need to be invalidating here. But there's just as likely a chance that we just like nuke that level before any kind of continuation. It's a tough trade right now on Bitcoin for a midterm swing. You've just missed a huge leg. Doesn't mean there's no trade set up there, but I'll tell you this, there's a lot better ones on altcoins right now. And you're seeing things like this cute weekly W forming on Joe right in the reload zone, big volume to mark the lows earlier in the year. I love this chart, and I love charts that look like this in general. Now, I think when Bitcoin is chilling here above a cute little Gann horizontal, just resting above, I'm basically staying bullish until we close a daily below that. Then I will, I don't know if I'm like flipping bear. I would just be like cautious. We'll take a look at the higher time frame range on Bitcoin. It's a tricky beast right now. I'm mostly just thinking I'm sitting in Bitcoin, which I kind of licked my wounds and just jumped back into in the low 30s here as it was breaking up. I was like shorting this range high here because that was the setup I had at that level. But as it was taking shape, I was like, yo, I'm just going to get spot long because I'm probably wrong. And if I'm right, I'll have that trade going down. But if I'm wrong, at least I'm on. So I'm in spot Bitcoin as my number one position. Second is Dogecoin. We're going to talk about that today. I think there's some juice cooking in Doge. And yeah, I mean, from the point of view of this Gann, I don't think there's anything stopping Bitcoin from going higher. I feel like it'd be weird to just reprice higher in the absence of any more kind of ETFs type news or announcement or any kind of like just doing that. I feel like it's probably more range bound here until there's more something to chew on, something to but who knows? Point I guess I'm trying to make here is we're in a very bullish environment right now. And I think a lot of people are going to get stuck overthinking this, like, well, is it the bull market? Is this it? Is this the one? Is it like, I don't think we really should ever try to fit things into like the ones and narratives and pre-existing fractals, based on 4 years, whatever. I think you just have to think more in terms of trend. It's very easy to get caught on the wrong side of history by trying to fit something into a narrative. Like, for example, I thought for the longest time, and you guys know this chart if you've been watching the show, I had this like box down here. I was like, this is where I want to load up. I was wrong. It's really just not going to happen. I don't see it coming in here. It could, I guess. But very quickly, I had to just kind of say, well, I'm invalidated here. This whole idea of getting that loading dock is done. And the trend is up. The trend is up, and it's very aggressive. And we talked a lot about it on stream last week. The general valuations of crypto to me are micro in the grand scheme of things. And I certainly, want to be a part of whatever that party is. So the trend is up. I'm going to trade the trend up. And I'm not worried about like, is this it? Or do we like have a new dip through February, March, April? Or is next year a recession? Like none of that matters. Price trend up, me trade price to upside. Like that's really how simple I want to keep it. So if you're feeling a little caught left, right, center, whatever, I would say just like really simplify what you're doing. And that's why I love charts, because charts don't lie. They don't talk either. They just kind of like, they don't, yeah, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Like they don't care. They just are what they are. Human emotion painted in candles. So let's get after it today. I think we'll start, Joe, beautiful weekly W there. There's a lot of weekly W's coming in. So here's the other thing. If this is a weekly W, right? And the reason we like the W's is just say you have your downtrend, right? Once you get that W, a low, a higher low, and break the midpoint, that W confirming right here, that represents a trend reversal. But in an uptrend, where do you want to buy? On the higher high? No, you want to buy on the higher low. So keeping in mind that this is really the target of a weekly buy. And so we're coming into like making these higher highs here. And it's a weekly. So whatever dip may come from whatever level will feel like forever. It'll be a couple weeks. It'll be bad. Most people will have just finally decided, okay, fuck it, I'm FOMOing in, and they'll spend a few weeks just getting squeezed back out. But it's that dip that I want to scoop. So just being aware of that, as excited as I am, and some longs that I am in, I think probably one of the nicest looking charts out there is DYDX. Now we've liked this before. This like in this this year, this looked really good, right? We had a big, long consolidation, 100% range here. I mean, what a sick place to be a little old lady, just taking sell halves on doubles, sell halves on doubles. We've got like 3 positions already baked in at these lows. So that breakout retest earlier this year, I tried, didn't work, got nuked. Now we've got another consolidation in that reload zone and a breakout and a retest. And on top of that, we now have a new tokenomic design. I don't know if it's at V4, DYDX V4. They're going to be moving to their own chain on Cosmos app chain. And they're also going to be basically turning on the fee switch. And if you look on DeFi Llama, DYDX is the number 2 DEX for derivatives in TVL after GMX, and it is the number 1 in volume. So fee switch is kind of a big deal, and they just turned it on. So right now it's just kind of chilling above that level. Whoops, take a drink. It's just chilling above that level here. And I just think it's going to chill for a bit and then just fucking moon. That's my thesis. That's my trade idea. And it reminds me of Matic a little bit. I'll explain why. And if you guys remember, I distinctly recall, don't make me pull the clip, but it was back here. I didn't know Matic was going to go as high as it did. I certainly did not hold it through that whole rally. But we had Gunny, Rob, and Messi on the stream, and we were all talking about like our pick of the week, or I think we started calling it shill of the week, and then we decided that sounded really greasy, but it was like pick of the week. And for 2 weeks in a row through this, or was it this? I think it was both, but either way, 2 weeks in a row, I was just sitting here saying, Matic's my favorite, Matic's my favorite, it's going to go. And the reason I thought of that or felt that way was because of this whole Polygon thing. They just announced Polygon right here, basically an ETH L2, and it repriced pretty quickly, similar to the way DYDX just did, but then it just chilled here for a couple weeks. Like that's a little while on a daily chart, right? That's January 7th all the way out to like Jan 26th. So basically the whole month of January, it did nothing after that announcement. And then it just oh, fuck, man. It just went crazy. Now, that was also 2021. Different times, different years, and a slightly different scenario. But I look at the DYDX chart, and I see a similar kind of thing. Announcing the V4 tokenomics, nice breakout on volume, chill. The market digests that. And who's selling? Like, big, large holders. Who's selling now? It's like, oh, I held all this time, but now I think I'll sell. I just don't see it. I think it's going to rally higher. Bear in mind that, oh God, blanked there. I lost what I was going to say. Oh yeah, bear in mind that there's an unlock in December. Apparently there's a big unlock in December. If you guys want, you can check out my Twitter at randomtask555. I'm already on my own page. There we go. And I put this out the other day. There's a really good write-up on this link here. I guess we could just click it. But it's not bloody story time, right? So I'm not going to read it to you, but it's on my Twitter. You can check it out. Bullish unlock into V4. So there's a big unlock coming up in December. Maybe as much as an 80% increase in supply. So that's kind of where I would pump the brakes a bit and be cautious and just see how it plays out into that. But for now, this is a huge consolidation. I mean, this is from May all the way until October. And then you break out of that on like a significant burst in volume. Any kind of retest onto that, I'm long. Such a sick setup. And you guys know how many times I sit on here like month over month, and I'm like, there's not much to do. Like, there's just not much to do. And we try to keep it interesting, and we try to stay focused and talk about working out and getting ready for when the shit comes back. This shit's back. Shit's back. Even if it ends up being a fake out, even if it's one last rinse through the washing machine, even if it was just another year of bullshit, whatever it is, the setups are here. The bursts of buy volumes are back. We're breaking into new levels. And that greed that is so easy to express up here, if just say we did something like this, how easy it would be to take risky bets through this because it's just FOMO. I am trying to tap into that level of greedy behavior right here. That's the key. The same way you might tap into like maximum risk management down here. You're like, oh, I'm going to cling to these stables because the market's so shit. I'm using DYDX as a general sentiment to the entire market, but you know what I mean? It's pretty easy to sit around and hang out with your buddies and talk about how many stable coins you have down here. That is the prevailing sentiment, right? Well, I'm the most in stable coins, so I'm 112% stable coins. Bragging about stables. I distinctly recall that we were joking about it on stream. People were just flexing like the percentage of stables they had been in for the longest. You know, I've been in stables since March. And so right now, I think we are just breaking into another extended greed period. And I want to get real nasty and greedy as early as possible. And for a little bit, I was a little jilted that I wasn't super long through that. But the prevailing logic is that if you waste time looking back at something you've missed, you're going to miss the next thing that's coming up ahead. So with that in mind, I went and searched for some charts. I found DYDX. I found Doge. We're going to get to Arbitrum next, Gallagher. So I hope you're not pressed for time, but I'm just going to go through the order of sort of what's on my mind in my brain. Now, this is drawn on the weekly, so it's not as ugly on the weekly. Did not look like it fit very well, that trend line. But we've got a really nice compression on price here for Doge. Basically, this like the only place you could find support, technically speaking, after this like sick markup, the start of 2021, and then like insanity through what ended up being like the blow off top through like Mario on Saturday Night Live, Elon Musk, Wario, you know, all of that, blah, blah, blah. And now you've just got this like epic downtrend, and it's sort of found a floor. It's a tricky chart to sit here and say like this is the most bullish looking chart. There's a few more out there for sure. I'd say hundreds right now of like fat weekly W's with higher buy volume, perhaps, whatever. So why Doge? Well, first of all, Doge typically just always has a good time during alts rallying. But more importantly, they're sending a bloody rocket to the moon. So check this out. If you Google Doge-1, there's a lot out here about it. Basically, they're just launching a rocket to the moon, the actual moon, with an actual Doge 1 on it, whatever the heck that is. I don't know if it's a character or some kind of figurine. Apparently, it's a 40-kilogram payload, whatever that is. And it was funded by the Doge community, from the Doge treasury or just Doge people. I don't know. Anyways, that is now scheduled for January 12th, 2024. And you're not long Dogecoin anon? That's kind of how I feel about it. We could look at the live charts, but this is the tweet from yesterday. It basically looks the same, but this is the weekly Doge versus Bitcoin. So, you know, settling into a level, nothing crazy, nothing to write home about, still making kind of vague lower lows on the weekly. But it is at a key level, and it is showing some potential signs of uppy. And remember, that's January, that's 8 weeks. So that'd be like 8 candles on this chart. I mean, even if they come up just a little bit and Bitcoin goes up during that, that's rocket fuel for the USD pair. The USD pair looks even better. So I really like Doge here for like a 6 to 8 week trade. And there's obviously some systemic risks to this idea, like Bitcoin sucks and goes down. Always the risk with altcoins. But no, more like delays in the rocket mission. There's already been 2 delays as far as I know. And yeah, there's already been 2 delays. And so they could blindly, randomly announce and just say, oh, we're pushing back that mission until March next year or friggin' November. Like, who knows? So things like that. But if I didn't know what coin this was and I just saw it breaking it like this, I'd say that looks pretty good as is. And then you think about that like Doge mission coming up, and I'm like, yo, you know, it's like AI conference next week. So AI is pumping. It was Solana breakpoint last week, and Solana rallied crazy into it. It's kind of like starting to become that attention market, right? Wherever there is eyes, there is buys. So I think we're going to get some eyes and buys on Dogecoin. I don't love this entry for anyone watching. It's not like, you know, I picked some up through this. because someone was just telling me, like this is probably a good time to get Doge. And actually, I didn't know about the rocket thing. It wasn't really factored in. I was just buying this pump chaser zone. And then I put how you do that? You get into a long, you buy a bag, and then you go dig in more and do some research. And then I found out about the rocket and all that. And then it became a much more exciting idea for me. And I loaded a little more yesterday when I started tweeting about it. I picked up a spot bag. I sold a tiny bit of Bitcoin for it. Like I swapped some Bitcoin to it on over on one of my exchange accounts on Coinbase. So, let's check it out on the lower time frames. I was actually looking at this. We kind of made a high there, so I don't know if that would count, but I was kind of like sitting there thinking it'd be kind of cool to do like a cup and handle kind of continuation. And that would have given us like a real cool dip through the week or through into the weekend, because it is a multi-week trade. That launch is not going to, unless they cancel it, it's going to come. And I'm sure through that, there's going to be a lot of attention to it. So any dips for me are a buy. Like I don't really want to see it go below here. My spot bag, my long is probably, I don't know. I'd want to look at price action when it comes into it, but that would invalidate it for me to some extent. But yeah, at this point, I think drawing down into this area would be pretty badass for a long. So keep your eyes open. I mean, if it just rips from here, there it goes. I don't think it means you have to miss the whole 2-month trade, but it certainly wouldn't be like buy on this breakout. I just think it's asking for trouble. It's nice when it's like spot and you're just going to put a little in. You're like, don't care. $500, throw it in. Because then you don't have to worry so much about all this nitpickiness. You just say, I'm going to buy it in November. I'm going to sell it in late December when, right before the rocket launches. I imagine it'll be higher without all this technical mumbo jumbo. Zen says Doge pump will help on-chain go crazy. Yep. I think Doge doing well is good. And then I don't know if I'd go this far just yet, but when you talk about Doge having a rip, you got to think dog tokens. I'm pretty notorious for not trading these or famous or trading them poorly, as you can see here. Actually looks a little bit like our Doge setup. Uh-oh. SHIB doesn't have a rocket though. So keep an eye out. Now, that's an old chart. I'll just get rid of it all. Yeah. So like if Doge is going to rip face, probably keep a pretty close eye on things like SHIB and Floki and all that. I don't think I'm going to do a dog basket. For now, I'm just focused on Doge. Floki already had a pretty cool month. There was something buzzing over there. I forget what it was specifically, but I remember it started ripping. Let's go to Arbitrum. Arb. Let's go check out Arby. Arb looks really good from a kind of trend perspective. Looking at that weekly W as we discussed earlier in the show. Now, it's a newer coin, doesn't have much price history, and it certainly doesn't have a long drawn out trough. I think Link is probably the best example of that in the market as far as like anything remotely blue chip. There's tons of long drawn out troughs on chain shitcoins, but like I'm talking about that good. So yeah, this one looks really nice. That's a gorgeous chart pattern to see if you want to be long on something. Most major high time frame trends, like majors, start with something like this. Sometimes you get faked out. Sometimes you get faked out. But if you look back at all previous, big bullish alt season kind of things, most of the altcoins that just sky fucked, they all started with like a weekly W like this. So very good signs to see in the market. And we're seeing a lot of them. Now, another thing I thought was interesting on the Arbitrum chart, just from a technical nerd point of view, technician's nerd, is, the chaos PRZ, which you just take from the low of the consolidation to the mid high point, and then it spits out those two numbers, the 4669. I added 2618. I never really traded off this one last cycle. But Brian's added it to his tool belt, and he's the guy I picked up chaos from, so I've added it to mine. I don't know how much I trade off it. I really rather wait for the 4669. But anyways, here's what's trippy. this high and this high align perfectly with each of those chaos levels. What a coincidence. I don't know what that means. It just makes it seem more likely that those levels are going to get hit. I think most people could agree that they will get hit sometime. So I guess the question is this the start of the rally that goes into that? Nothing about the timing of the year really fits for me. Or, well, some Novembers into Decembers, yeah, okay, 2017, 2021, right? But the year is off. So going back to the start of the show where I said try not to overthink it, I'm trying not to overthink it. I just see an uptrend. I'd say the one thing that I'm doing to factor in that weirdness about it just doesn't seem like the time for the big bull. Rather than not trading it just because of that, I'm just trading it maybe a little more cautiously. Like I'm more aware that it's pretty, it wouldn't be weird or unlikely at all, or that surprising if we ended up with something like this. So you have the weekly W, and like we talked about earlier, right? This is the higher high that's announcing that it's an uptrend, but then you get the higher low. And that's ultimately where you want to be loading. And you can't load the higher lows very well if you FOMO into all these breakouts. So while I have taken quite a few positions in the last week, on a chart like ARB, I've not touched it because charts like that, I want to wait until it comes into a higher low. And it will come into a higher low. It may, it's hard to say exactly how. Like, does it hit the chaos PRZ and then make a hot, whatever it does, but eventually from some level at some point it'll hit reload zone, higher low, or something like that. So I'm waiting on ARB. But if I was already long ARB, I'd be pretty thrilled, and I'd just be watching for these levels. So there's my takes on ARB. And then you got to think about Arbitrum season. I did buy an Arbitrum coin, project building over there, Magic. Don't ask me what it does. I don't know anything about it. But I really liked it. That's not the chart that I really liked, though. Where was it? It's up here. Let's see. No, it was on Dex Screener, maybe. Magique. But not this one. There it is. The deep liquidity one, 10 million. Yeah, look at this. Look at this chart. So again, weekly W right out of the reload zone. Very sexy. So I just picked some up, like, I don't know. I don't think I got like that super sweet, clean throwback, but somewhere in here, I think around like 60 cents. So Magic is built on Arbitrum. Maybe there's something bad about them. I don't know. But again, chart doesn't lie. And if there is some FUD or some bullshit, or people are like, oh, Magic, they were cool, but now they're not. Well, guess what, homies? They're not cool when they're in the reload zone. They're cool when they're making new local highs. And on that day, someone's going to come shill you on Magic, and they're going to say, oh, guess what? It's the best thing ever. And I'm going to sell to them. So that's my thoughts on Magic. Looks really good, especially because Arbitrum looks so good. And this, I would guess, is one of the higher cap on-chain Arbitrum plays because it's like 191 mil FDV. Bonk may fit real proper as the new Doge cousin. Yep, I love Bonk. Don't own any. Bit sad about that, but not losing any sleep over it because it's a shitcoin. Definitely one that would be nice to have more of because it's going up. Number go up. Let's just see if I can find a good. Yeah. Ooh. Wait, that's Bonk USD.P. There we go. What? Oh yeah, that's why. It's because it's 1,000 Bonk. There we go. Yeah, so we were charting it back here, having a little fun with it. Lost some money. And now, instead of buying it at the lows and making it all back in one trade, I'm a sideline or. I saw it start to break out. I think I caught it like around here, and I was just like, interesting. Like, it's up 100% in 4 days. Like, just not my style. to do like an aggressive breakout trade, which is too bad because I think right now I would have had a free position today. But either way, bonk is looking sick. It's got a ton of holders. I got nothing against it. It's pretty sweet. It is going to make new highs, and the momentum indicators are not following it. If it makes this new high, which it's actually already just made today, typically the highest high in like the end of a move kind of thing, I want to see like an exhaustion in volume. So we're starting to see that, right? Like the higher volume down here, bulls losing a bit of interest up here, momentum indicators rolling over a bit. There will be a day for me to load bonk. It won't be chasing this impulse. Probably if I'm going to be buying bonk, it'll be somewhere down here. And of course that level will just slowly follow it up. It's just not, it's not good enough a coin. It's not crazy enough of a project or evaluation or anything about it that's like I have to have it. So I'll just come get it if it comes to me. Great example of that. Oh, we're gonna look at a stinger. Great example of that. Not chasing marinade, then grabbing it through the reload zone to be healthily rewarded. This is the one we talked about on Thursday, but I messed this up. I got really bullish on marinade here as it came into that reload zone off the big rally. And then I got invalidated for the local setup I had like through this, and I sold it, and then I just stopped paying attention to it. So, but doesn't mean we can't learn from that. That's really just an example of what I'm saying about bonk. If we get something like that, it is kind of coming into like a pump chaser season, in which case you don't necessarily always just want to wait for the long drawn out thing. But on that note, let's just think about it for a sec. If we rally, we're rallying pretty hard right now in Bitcoin. I mean, maybe we didn't move today or last 7 days, but we're in a pretty strong move up. If this is to be sustained, and then on the day of the announcement of the ETF being approved, there's a big pump, big rally, there is a pretty good chance that marks the local high for a while. It's just kind of the way things go, you know? This is a really good chance. Now, I don't know if I would go and sell all my spot into that, because it also could just keep going. And we're like, oops, we were wrong. We're not bullish enough. But I would certainly not be like rushing to be like, now that it's approved, I'm going to join. I think a lot of people will do. That'll be a very public trade. Bitcoin ETF announced, on CNBC, whatever. Point is, like, just say we do whatever we do into that, like post ETF approval, I just see something like this. Whatever that looks like, the halvening is like somewhere over here. So, is this what we have to get? Like, when is the approval? I don't know, but I certainly think there is potential for a long drawn out boredom phase between ETF approval and post halvening kind of bullishness. Just to be aware of that. It's like, I'm not going to chase things here as if they're never going to have a reload zone again. I think they could all get one more, even if we're like super bullish. So I'm actually looking at coins right now that are still just kind of chilling in them. There's some coins right now that have really broken out, and they're tough for me to chase, like Fetch. Fetch could go much higher. In fact, I'm guessing it will, but I don't really have a setup to get long on it. It's already left the station. If I really want to get long on something like this, and I have been tempted to and looked at a few, then it's got to be pump chaser zone, which I probably missed. Oh dear, yeah, look. So that kind of already happened here. It got front run a little bit, but that kind of entry. Oh, never mind, because at that time it would have been here. So yeah, we haven't really had a 382 tag, but if we got one, this is how I would get long on a coin like this. If I'm like, man, it left the station, it's going to have another leg. It's probably just going to be like breaking out to these new highs. How do I get on board? It would be like bidding something like this. And so there's probably going to be a bit of a nuke day at some point. And on those days, rather than being caught off guard or closing positions because you just got in at the worst time, like that's a day where you want to see all these alerts coming up on your phone, like filled. Like having those bids resting. There's nothing worse than being a sideline or and letting that feeling of being sidelined draw you into like late, bad, out of position positions. And then on the day where you should be filling all of your really sweet positions, you end up getting stopped out. Now, this is an interesting turn of events. I love that. So Bitcoin just hit range highs, swept. This has been a crazy range to try to trade. Not fun at all. I have not been trying to trade it, but I've been watching it very closely, and I keep doing these kind of paper trades in my head. I'm like, what was the latest one this week? I was like looking at this. I was like, man, big sweep of these range highs. If this thing sneaks back up into a short reload zone against that level, like that'd be a sweet short. And technically the trade did come in, even if you took like the 702, but you didn't quite, maybe you got the 3-1. Yeah, well, there was a 3-1 in there. So there was just a 3-1 in there, but anyone who was shorting against this has just been swept. So that's too bad for them. But they're bears, so fuck them, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, yeah, it's a bit tricky range to trade. And so this is why I'm not really looking at Bitcoin right now. I've got some Bitcoin spot positions. I've got some alt positions. I'm trying to stick to alt positions that look good versus Bitcoin too, but I'm not too worried about that. I'm mostly just looking at like really strong USD things. So yeah, that's it. What's on my green list? Solana's up there just to keep an eye on it. DYDX and DOGE are my only two leverage longs right now. Arbitrum, I think, is a better signal for like where to look for good setups. So like, hey, look, Arbitrum just printed a fat W and it's rallying. I don't really like entering it up here, up against resistance, but that magic chart looks dope. So if there's going to be a little fun happening over an Arbitrum chain, that's kind of how I take this chart. Less about what I want to do with Arb and more about what I want to. It's like maybe it's going to help me point my focus towards Arbitrum. CFX caught a little bit. I had a tiny long open from this dip and closed it. So somewhat regrettable if it does just moons from here. But Neo is going crazy. I would love to know what's going on with Neo. Is this just manipulators, or are they going to come out and say, hey, guys, that $350 million treasury that we had at the end of 2020, like they had a $350 million treasury a couple years ago. So I don't know what they did with that. I imagine there's still a lot of it left. So what's going on with Neo? Somebody knows something. Somebody's buying. And Neo Gas, which way back, I don't even know why it's a new chart. They're trying to pretend they didn't have this thing back in 2017. Gas is why I signed up to Bybit, to Binance back in August 2017. I went and bought some BNB because I had to go there to buy gas. It was like a sketchy little Chinese exchange that nobody wanted to use. It was like, oh, Binance, what's that? I was at August 2017. So I have a soft spot for gas. I'm not going to buy any. But that's pretty crazy. It's having a run. It's like, so something's going on there, or it's just a total like, bullshit whale game pump. But I don't know. Very curious. If anyone knows what's going on with Neo, I mean, I haven't even Googled it. Maybe they've announced something. I've not put in much effort to knowing that, for the record. Is there an ETF announcement time frame at the moment? I'll give you guys what I've got. It's nothing too exclusive, but here it is. So this is what I'm looking at. And iShares here is the BlackRock one. There's a lot of people who speculate that they'll just kind of announce based on the ARK 21 shares Bitcoin deadline. Like they're not, these deadlines come much sooner. For example, the final deadline for ARK is January 10th. It would be very unlikely for them to make a decision about this one and not mention the other ones, right? There's kind of a consensus vibe that like if they approve this one, they'll approve everything all at once. Or if they deny this one, you could probably speculate they'll deny the rest eventually or all at once. So 11/11, 4 days. In 4 days, there's a deadline for the ARK shares ETF. So that's interesting, especially in the context of like Bitcoin having a little Tuesday fun up around the highs here, the local highs. So expect this to be anticipated. So it could be the case that we rally into this deadline. There's no real comment, or they just make a decision to like further delay. And then we chill back in that range for a bit. All the while, I expect if we're in this range that alts will continue their catch up. Catch up mustard, a little bit of relish. We should see alts continue to have fun as long as Bitcoin trades in this range. And in that case, keep an eye on this range, because if we do come in and sweep these lows, that's either a great time to be thinking about longing Bitcoin, or it's a great time to be thinking about longing these altcoins that would no doubt have dipped through that move down there. Just say this was the sweep of the highs, and in 10 days we find ourselves, like whatever that looks like. And then it's like, that's not the like abandon ship, change your whole fucking plan and get the hell out moment. Like that's your like load up on alts moment. If this happens, Bitcoin's ranging, alts are having a great time, the range low sweeps is where you want to be buying the dips. Keeping that in mind. So this level right here, definitely 100% never a buy for me on Bitcoin. But we did get a little dip today in some alts. They've come into some levels. There could be some buys there, right? So this doing some scans. I don't have an exhaustive list. I'm adding as I go here. I think the China bid is interesting. ONT, NEO, gas. Like there's something brewing over there. I've always had a soft spot for that narrative, as you guys know, from the spring, kind of like during all of this. But looking at something like Filecoin, chilling, right? Still very much in investable levels as far as like reload zones and all that. If you take like a weird shitty, because this is kind of shitty, like this trend line would have just been like straight down or like that. So I would just take that. But yeah, like it's moving through whatever trend lines you might draw on it. It's breaking out the other side. It's got some buy volume chilling. I'm not buying any Filecoin, but these are some of the ideas. And I'm going to check the chat here if you guys have some thoughts. I like Frax. I picked up some Frax right around here, like low sixes. Same kind of thinking. I don't even think we need this high time frame reload zone on, but we could. But it's like huge wedge, very uneventful wedge. I almost want to just, probably delete it now. Kind of broke out of there and just dribbled sideways. So it wasn't too sexy. It wasn't too helpful. But anyways, what does that look like on the weekly? It might be a www.maybe.com. Yeah, not quite. I mean, railroad tracks here. Ding dong, ding dong, dong. So I would want to see us break above, and then you get a sweet weekly W on Frax. This has not been an easy one to trade. Just looking back at this, like the last time a weekly W confirmed was on this candle's close. So like, okay, I got long, and that wasn't a very good trade either, because it went straight into like an M top and retested and failed all the way back down to range lows. Frax has been a bit of a cursed coin, I think, for a lot of people that have been trying to trade it and get long on it. But I have a feeling it's going to do very well in the near future, the not so distant future. So keeping an eye on it in these kinds of levels is wise IMO. So I picked some up this week, nothing crazy, no leverage, but I think this entire zone will eventually be the, oh, you're so lucky you got Frax all the way down there. That's probably the case. Yeah, gas perps listed on Binance. Okay. So it's just a gas perp listing. That's kind of weird. It's funny that that's just like all it takes right now. And that's a sign of the times. When you have like AI conference and all these AI coins start going nuts, and then you have your Solana breakpoint, Solana and its coins start going nuts. Maybe they're related, maybe they weren't. Some will say they weren't. But it's like whatever gives attention to a project. This is reminiscent of late 2017 when we would get rebrand website pumps. I once saw a project just launched a new website which came with like new color and branding and copy, and it pumped 10x, 1,000%. Now you ask yourself why? What did the website or the rebrand do fundamentally to the project? Absolutely nothing. But what it did was it caused a lot of reasons for people to look at it. And then people look at it and they say, oh man, they're going to use that blockchain solution for that. Like, that's amazing. Buy, buy, buy. And so that's just that speculative mania. We're starting to see a bit of that, not the mania piece too soon, but we're definitely starting to just see this thing where it's like, hey, there's a thing that fucking moved. Let's buy it. Like, anything that draws attention is going to get that buying attention right now. That's why I'm so horny for Doge over the next 2 months. Rebrand website pump. Yeah, man, it was a real thing. It was fantastic. Really crazy. Like XRB was Rayblox, and they rebranded to Nano, which is still around. That thing pumped 100x. Crazy. Wow, Nano's really not in a lot of places. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Look at that. Oh my God. Yeah. This was 2020. Wow. So like Nano even had a run during the 2020, but I'm talking about like back further. 2020 XRB. No, it's not even listed anymore. Oh dear. Sad. Probably could find it on some crazy old chat, some old thing, but let's go see. Yeah, there it was. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that stuff. This was like, look at that. This is so stupid. People are so dumb. We're so hilarious, us humans. Like, here's the thing. They rebranded from Rayblox, which had a really weird UI, UX on their wallet. It was a strange branding. Like, nobody really knew what they were doing, but they had a cool, like, DAG lattice, super fast, super cheap, like, thing. And then they rebranded to Nano, and it went bananas. Absolutely bananas. Let's go see just how bananas it went. The good old days. Oh, just a cool 303x. Is that what that is? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. From like a penny to $36. My brain is fried. Is that 300? Yeah, 360x. Not bad. So that was fun. So that's the power of the rebrand. No, and that's, children, is why we rebrand our products every few years. But seriously, crazy pumps. And that mostly was spurred by a rebrand. It just drew a lot of attention to it at the right time. Like that pump all happened right around Christmas. It was a bit of a sad story though, because BitGrail and Mercurial, I don't know, there's some other exchange, Mercatox. Yeah, the two exchanges that were like the main places to trade XRB in that, they both got hacked and like had frozen. It's pretty bad. A lot of people were very sad. I think they're still waiting on claims. Anyways, yeah, Neo Ant shares. I missed that one completely, so we're not going to talk about it. But no, yeah, it did. Yes, Ant shares to Neo, another rebrand. So, anyways, yeah, that right. He says back when pumps were pumps. We talk about respecting the pump, but if you got here in 2020 and beyond, you don't even know the pump. This is the pump. Like, this is just the most insane thing ever. When I look at it now, I'm just like, who was like anywhere on here buying? Whomst? Well, whoever they are, they're gone now. So we're running out of dumb. We're running out of dumbness. The market is maturing. It's getting smarter, less dumb, super dumb. Probably not dead, so we'll get an even lesser dumb. And this is also a really interesting. It's a really interesting example of something we talk about a bit on stream, where you get this kind of. You've ever seen that chart floating around the internet? And it's just this kind of thing. And that's how projects die. They don't die overnight. I'm not saying Nano's dead. Looks like it is, but you just get less and less and less underwhelming, more and more underwhelming performances through the ages, and then eventually it's just like, here's a crazy thought that I had once upon a time. Every single dead coin, every single token, every single coin that's ever been and then not been is sitting in someone's wallet. Someone somewhere is holding every bag that's dead. That's a thought. That's kind of crazy. So one of my goals in life is to not be the guy holding any of those bags. Fun thought, though. Kind of a scary thought. Like, unless it's like, well, no, because even then, if it's like, even if it's on Uniswap, the last LP sitting in there and it's just, there's no ETH in the LP, it's just all token, and then they just withdraw, or they never do. Hoping someone will come and plant some Ethereum back in their pool, but yeah, don't get caught holding them bags. Yeah, so we talked about that. Thoughts on OPOS? Yeah, let's take a look. OPOS, only possible on Solana. I'm going to pull it up, and then I'm going to drag it down. Here it is. Let's take a look. And, if you guys haven't already, hit the like, hit the sub, do all the fun stuff. Pump our numbies, because we love you guys, and that's why I'm here. We're here to put in work. And the market's getting a lot more fun now. So, should get some attention picking up. We should see effort across the board picking up. I will be paying more attention now. Not like I've been streaming for months and never paying attention, but I've certainly been less in the weeds because there just wasn't much in there. But swamp. Yeah, only possible on Solana looks pretty sweet. If you're just purely looking at the TA, it doesn't have much in the way of confirmation until it breaks above here. So if you want to be a real stickler, I say things at a glance. I'm like, that looks nice because it's not pumped already, right? And some people like to chase the strongest assets in the market, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think there's a lot to be said for momentum trades. It's probably the most common, most popular trade in the world, just jumping on board something with a high volume, high momentum trend. It's typically like definitely the most common in like traditional stocks. The index breaks new highs and it's just like, yeah, everybody get in. We're just going to go higher now forever. I'm more of like wait and see, and the market's pumping, all this stuff's rallying, buy volumes flooding in, tether printer go burr, all this stuff's happening, and then go find the things that haven't pumped yet. I don't subscribe to this idea that, the leaders are always going to be the leaders. I think the catch-up trade, the echo pump trade, is my favorite thing, because then you kind of know where the market's at before you're getting in. It's definitely an easier trade for me to make. I don't have my tools set up here, but I'll do a quick pump chaser zone. I don't even know. I don't feel too strongly about this one in general, but from a technical perspective, let's just look at what it might look like. Like, I clearly don't do anything with these charts over here. Like, can't work on this background. We need all black with none. There. Okay. Screw the colors on the fib. But yeah, that's a pretty sweet, if you wanted to be like a little front runner, pump chaser zone off the lows, I would probably rather see some bullish structure. So you're not just caught buying here and then it's like dribbling down and making new lows, and there was never an uptrend, or you just bought into the lower high and a downtrend. Right now it's a lower high and a downtrend, technically speaking. But again, it depends where you're at in the market. Could be a little inverse head and shoulders, but that's not an inverse head and shoulders until it is. So again, breaking up to this neckline, and then there's maybe a trade in there, even if it's short-lived. Only possible on Solana. Let's see some stats. It's like a 2 mil market cap. So what you're really asking is, can it trade to 4? If it can trade to 4, you can have a free position for life, or 100% return on your money, and sell the whole thing, not just half. Interested in your take on Bond, old messy plug. Oh, I never heard of Bond. I think I've heard the ticker, but how do you scan for projects for your watch list? That's a great idea. Excuse me. It is a good idea, but it's a great question. This one's been a little different. I'll explain what I used to always do. So sorry, on bond, I don't really have a clue. Never heard about it. But let's take a look at bond. I'm guessing it's an on-chain or Barn Bridge. Oh yeah, I do remember that name. I have no idea, dude. Let's just do a pure technical. You know what you're gonna get with me is probably just to some TA. I love that about Messy Streams. Like he would go into like token terminal and like do proper like kind of fundamental deep dives and read websites and all that. I can't do that live. I struggle with that stuff live, researching and just kind of learning as I go. It's really just a TA thing for me. Our first super chat, yeah, dope. That's what that is. So there's a super chat going on in here, MG, and it popped up all bright, and I was like, "What is going on here?" Anyways, yeah, let's take a look at bond. What is dead may never die. Yeah, super long downtrend, pretty typical across on-chain stuff. So what you want to see, because there's a ton of opportunity in the market, if you can scan these things, I'd want to know what was their product or project. I'd want to dive into that community, see how dead or alive it is. Take a look at their announcements channels, see if they've been announcing any updates, TVL, volume, depending on what product it is, right? If those things are still kicking, then these kinds of charts can be extraordinarily lucrative. Something happened here. Could be like a new, like a V3, V4, like, some kind of catalyst came in here, apparently. And if I wanted to long it after something like that, it's usually on like a dip to a reload zone. That one worked out for now, but it doesn't look like it's in too much of a rush to do anything. Now, I'd want to know what this catalyst was, because if it was extremely strong, then it could very well be the case that this thing just chills and then goes higher, in which case 44 mil FDV, like, figure out your trading plan at $4.50. Your double is right here. So it's like, are you patient enough and conviction enough to buy here and not sell until here? You still having a double, get your free position. Boom. Or is it like, and then you're just like being pretty chill, waiting into this reload zone, at which point your double is even easier to get should you choose to grab it. You don't even need new highs to get the double from the reload zone. So a lot of those questions depend on you, what your trading plan is, what your patience is like, and then what the heck this was. I'd love to know what that was. If I was going to trade this, I would have to find out. Things to think about. What will RT do for a super chat? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I gave you a pretty good rundown. I think does that cost you $1.99 to do that? It's kind of crazy. I'm new to this. Never heard of super chat before. Anyways, yeah, hope that helps. Here's one thing you can say for sure. You do not want to be holding this bag if the chart or price trades below here. You get a very clear invalidation. And it's actually a pretty sweet reversal look too, because it's like, here's your low, trickle, 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 trickle down, kind of chill, and then it's like sweep and hard reverse. So somebody, some people, something put in a really strong bid at the sweep there. They're likely going to try to defend that. And there was no sell pressure really below this level. So it's like the sellers ran out of coins and then the buyers stepped in, put in a floor. That's kind of what you look for in a high time frame reversal. So yeah, if I want to be a bull on this, I'd say buying in that zone, getting the heck out anywhere below that, and then looking to like unwind, at least get my initial back through any kind of rally on next leg. Pretty straightforward stuff, but all of that really so dependent on what the heck is going on with that coin otherwise. Ooh, buddy, it's my market meeting. Time to go have a meeting, folks. It's already been an hour. Hot dang. Yeah, fib extension's kind of up there in that double zone, so pretty sweet. Let's take one last thing. Okay. So how do you scan projects for your watch list? I'll tell you. I swear I will. So here's the deal. If I'm trading on Binance, or Bing or wherever, Bybit, wherever I'm trading, I will first off go and make an exhaustive watch list of every single pair that is on there. It takes time. There used to be an old widget that you could just auto generate them. It has since been defunct. So I did this manually. I just went and added every single friggin' thing. So now I have my playground. Okay. This is all the coins I could long or short. And so I start scanning. Now I'm only interested in something that is trending up on the weekly or has made a floor. And so I will just scan down and see all these coins are just kind of making like new lows on weeklies. Not that interesting. Aave, much more interesting. So I might take Aave and I'll stick it on my red list. That's like the first layered filter. Okay, look, we've got a weekly W, aka not dead, aka not making new lows, trending up. I'm going to put it on my red list. This one's a little bit iffy. It's ADA. I don't really like that coin, but for for whatever sake, I'll put it on there. Also, these are like the perpetual contract ones. If you really want this kind of watch list stuff, like you probably want more job history. I was going to say job history. AGIX, you want more trade history? Oh, really isn't that much history on AGIX. AGIX. Thought there would be. Yeah, you could probably find it somewhere. There you go. Okay, so here's a good example. So what I used to do, and this is probably the best way for you to do it because I'm looking for 3-step setups. So Nico C, this is for you, buddy, and really for anybody, because it's a great system. It helps me out a lot. And actually, when I told Brian over at TRI, he started talking about it on the screen on the show too, because it's a nice screening system. But basically, there's 3 things I want to see in a trade before I take the trade. I'm going to show you right here. 1, location. 2, divergence. 3, structure. So with those 3 things in mind, here's a quick scanning tool that helps me. Now, a lot of these, it doesn't work as well. It's a little messier. It's a weird part of the market, but this chart actually fits really well. So you have location. So I would just throw these fibs onto any chart that looks like it might have price chilling in the reload zone. And I'd say, okay, location, check. That makes it onto my red list. Then I got to check on the momentum indicators because I want to see 3 reasons to buy something, right? I don't want to just like, hey, look, it's down. I'm going to buy it. It's like, no, I want to see that it's not only trending, it's like in a good location against lows, but it's actually like losing momentum. That downswing is coming to an end. And so you look at something like the MACD. And as price was continually making lower lows, the MACD was actually making higher lows and flipped bullish, thereby confirming a bullish divergence on the weekly. Check. So I'm going to move that to my blue list. So what I would do is I'd go down this whole list and I would just make a big red list. It's going to basically include everything that's chilling in a reload zone or just broke out of a weekly W, like not dead, gets on the red list. Then blue list is, showing momentum reversals. So it's got bull divs confirming. And then I would go to that blue list and I'd shoot down the blue list and anything that had a W in it. I think Magic would be a good example for this. Magic is already on my green list. So I did I got 3 kids now. I don't have time to go through 300 of these 3 times, but I did a short abbreviated version of this where I just went straight to a green list on the weekend. I had 2 hours. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to rip through here. And Magic doesn't show up here, the history, so it's not as good, but Magic is on the green list because we kind of already looked at this earlier, but let's take another peek for the purposes of this discussion. So Magic was really nice looking comparatively, right? So you have sort of a fat weekly W, a big breakout on volume, then you're back in the reload zone. There's your location. I don't even know if it had divergence. I didn't even check because the structure was so beautiful. Let's go see. Yeah, I figured it would. So there you go. You had lower lows, higher lows, confirmed bullish divergence once it flipped back green. So you have your location, you have your bull div, and now we have our weekly W. So it's on the green list. And once something's on the green list, it's nice because I can just flip over to my green list. And now I've got all the charts of everything that's on the exchange I trade on. I've now filtered out the ones that are trending lower. So maybe this rally they're having is just a lower high on an otherwise ugly weekly chart. Don't want to trade those. Something that maybe came hard into the lows but showed no signs of divergence, just having a little pop right now. Don't want to trade those. I filtered out the junk. And this is not an exhaustive list. I kind of whipped through that. Some of these are on here because they're Chinese and Neo was pumping and on ONT was pumping. I thought, oh, throw a few China coins in there. Phil, another weekly W here. So anyways, Magic's got to be one of the nicest, like from a technical perspective, this is just really nice. And so depending on my position sizing, I'm not going to sell the farm. I just put a small bag in, but if I wanted to go big, I'd probably even go over to their community, figure out what the hell's going on over there. For now, I'm just trading the technicals. So last week, instead of getting all beat up about, I don't have enough positions in things that are moving, I found this one and I picked it up on this retest. Now I'm long and it's moving. And there's still lots more out there like this. I think if you guys go do scans like this on whatever exchange you're trading on, you'll find things, KNC looks pretty good. I don't know about the history. Maybe we should look at it. Does this have a history here? Is that the whole history? Because otherwise, this doesn't look that great trading below its all-time evers. I feel like there was more history. Things have been around. I was in the KNC ICO back in the day. Like this thing was like a 2017 ICO. I think it was 25 cents, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, doesn't want to come up on this super old chart history. It's because they launched like a V2. That's probably why. So they deprecated their original token, which is why the chart history goes to July 2021. That makes sense. Anyways, this one looks good. It's on my green list because it's just like chilling along new lows, or it's making new lows. No, but it's just hanging out down here. It's kind of forming some W's. I'd say low, higher low, broke the midpoint. So I put KNC on the list. I wouldn't be shocked if this one moves. And then for most of these, looking at some chaos levels right out of these little troughs. If we're going to get a sustained rally here, I imagine it'll be something like this, and then just back into reload zones. So have fun while there's fun to be had. It's the name of the game. Guys, I got to wrap it up for today. I got a meeting, and I am delightfully late at 11 minutes, but it's a big group, and we're talking about markets, so I'm sure no one missed me. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for coming to watch the show. Sorry I missed the last 8 things that were said in the chats. I'm terrible. But we'll be back on Thursday. And I think we're going to actually have Gunny over here from Hxro Network coming in to talk some juice. Oh, I was about to say something. I don't know if I can spoil it or not, but it's coming out soon on Hxro Network. So we're going to talk about it. And, charts and shit talk and all the good stuff. Until next time, guys, whatever you do, always play from a position of strength. Take care.